Okay, welcome to our second podcast of the Female Rowers podcast. And I'm Christel. I'm the performance nutritionist for Rowing New Zealand. I have been working for Rowing New Zealand for 12 years now. And at the beginning of my working career of working for Rowing New Zealand, I had the privilege of bumping into Fiona. She was one of our athletes there. Yeah, obviously we work together, but I think I can also say that you're a dear friend. So, so would you be so kind and introduce yourself to the listeners and give us a little bit of your rowing background?
Yeah, just before you do that, it was a privilege to have you as a nutritionist as well, because you made huge changes to how we ate and performed and fueled ourselves. So yeah, just back at you, Christel. So my name is Fiona Paterson. I am now 39 years old, but I've been retired since essentially London. Maybe tried to do a bit of a comeback after that, but didn't work out so well. So I feel like I've been retired for quite a while now, and I feel like I'm onto a new phase of life. But I remember rowing really fondly. It was a really great part of my life. Started at school, so rowed at high school. And then progressed through the junior ranks, the juniors for a couple of years, under 23s for a few years, then eventually made it to the elite team. So that's my condensed sort of rowing history.
And I like to add there, because you didn't just make it to the elite team. You did really, really well on the world stage. So maybe you can tell the listeners a little bit about your achievements there.
Yeah. So first made elites in 2007 post cancer, which we're going to talk about. So made an 8 there for a couple of years, and then was in a double with Anna Rayner, and we got third and bled 2011 world champs, and then we went to London 2012 together in a double as well, and ended up getting fifth,
which was fantastic. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, spent some great years in under 23s as well. Was 2004 we were world champs in the quad, and the year before that I was in a 4 actually, and 2003 in a 4 and got fourth there. So yeah, some good results, I guess. Yep.
I think some excellent results and a fantastic rowing career, I believe. So obviously your rowing career didn't go straight forward. You already touched on the cancer. So would you be able to tell us a little bit more about that pathway?
Yeah, so I was under 23s in 2005. I was in a double, and I didn't have the best international season. Over that winter, I sort of started to struggle, and I had real issues with my what I thought at the time was just my cycle. And I was getting really heavy periods, and then like bleeding quite constantly. And over that next summer squad, I really started to struggle. I started performance started to sort of drop away, and I started to lose a bit of weight, and I was still constantly bleeding. And so I'd done something about it at the start of summer, and looked into going to a doctor, and I was sort of waiting to see somebody because we didn't know it was as urgent as it was. Then it sort of got to a point where I was really unwell, and it sort of coincided with the time that I had made that appointment for, and went to the doctor. And that it sort of all transpired from there.
Yeah, and firstly, you said that you had been bleeding for a while. And when you were bleeding, what were your initial thoughts? Because I have heard you speaking about that. How did you make it okay for yourself in your head?
I think you can justify anything to yourself if you sort of your mind can play quite funny tricks on you. But I sort of justified it away. I thought, when you train hard, you can stop getting your period. And I thought, well, maybe if you're training hard, you could get it more regularly as well.
Yeah. Which is
lack of education, really.
Which I obviously have heard you say before, and I find it's quite amazing, because that's working in the nutrition area, knowing how important it is to have a regular menstrual cycle. And because what you're saying, often if people are underfueling, they're losing their cycle. And specifically when you were rowing, that was seen as a good thing, or by the athletes at least. So that whole mental shift, what you're saying, like, okay, make it something that it's okay in your head, that you don't have to seek help.
Totally, because I had friends who were losing theirs, and I thought, wow, maybe I'd just go the other way. It did coincide with my first real step up in training. It was first summer squad, and first time I was really training like an elite, and it was quite a big step up. And there were just so many little things that I thought, oh, it must be because of that, or must be because of that, and you kind of pick an idea and just run with it. And I think I justified everything that was happening with all the other changes that were happening in my life. And probably it's something that people do, but obviously that's why we're having the chat now, to make people aware that it might not be always the right decisions that are made, even if it's consciously or unconsciously. And that's so when you went to see a doctor, are you happy to share a little bit of what happened there? Yeah, sure. So it was actually like a specialist gynecologist, because with chats with doctor, we just thought, needed to like find a pill that worked and sort of sort my cycle out. But when I got there and I described some of my symptoms, she looked a little bit like, this doesn't sound great. And then she asked me if I'd had a smear, and I was like, oh, no, haven't quite got there yet. At that stage, you were supposed to start from when you were 20. And I was 22, 23 almost at the time. So I was a wee bit behind in the 8 ball there. I should have been onto it, and it wasn't. And that's
which is absolutely not uncommon, isn't it? It's not the most enjoyable thing that you can go through, and it's a really easy thing to get to the bottom of the list. So once again, normal behavior, but that's why we're talking about it today.
Yeah, and that was some of my there was lots of reasons why. I don't think it was because I was embarrassed so much. I think I just had missed the memo that I should be going, and I was just on such a mission, like just doing what I was doing. It sort of didn't pertain to rowing or an injury or anything that would stop me rowing, I thought. So I was just on a mission, and I was a bit, I had the blinkers on and was just a wee bit unaware to everything that was going on.
Yeah. So obviously the doctor asked if you had a smear, have done a cervical smear, and your answer was negative. And then she had some investigation, she did. And
so she proceeded to do one, and then sort of found part of the tumour, and was like, so I had to help her with that, which was I kind of knew that wasn't really how these things went. And so that got sent away, and then it would have been maybe a week later, I got the results back, and she just told me that I had a really rare form of cervical cancer. It was called clear cell cervical cancer. And she wasn't 100% sure. She hadn't seen it before. So she passed me on to somebody else, who passed me on to somebody else who was more of a specialist, who knew more about it.
Yeah, so that's how you ended up with Ai Tang, I guess.
Ai Tang. She's gorgeous. She's a fantastic surgeon. I just feel so lucky that I ended up with her.
Yeah. So obviously that's a really, really horrendous diagnosis. And where did you go from there? And that's what was the next step in your pathway?
Oh, I was very lucky that I had a lot of support. I had a very dear friend looking after me, and she scooped me up and took me to appointments, and kind of made the get well fee plan. And it was about 6 weeks from diagnosis to radical hysterectomy, where they removed the tumour, obviously my womb, clipped my ovaries up to my hips just to keep them out of the way of the radiation and the following treatment. And then there was quite a lot of time to heal after that. There was probably about 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah, and then I started weekly chemo for about 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks, and that took like a day. That was sort of just stay, and it just takes a long time to run through you, so it took a whole day in there. And then I had daily radiation, which took about 20 minutes in the morning for each, for about 6 weeks as well.
Yeah. And you're mentioning your dear friend, so obviously that's Lisa Holton, who is absolutely fantastic and instrumental, I think, for anybody having anything to do with rowing. So yes, I fully agree with that, and I can see her in action. So your whole pathway, so you had radiation, and then how long, so when did you start contemplating getting back into rowing again? How did that evolve?
Too soon. I think I finished, it's madness now that I think of it, but I think I finished radiation and was back in the boat the next week, but it was very light, and I think I went out with the juniors for a wee row, and it was very eased back into it. But I don't think I had like a red blood cell to my name. I think I was absolutely, exhausted. But I think it was just sort of more for mental kind of, and just have a routine and to feel like I was probably in control of the situation.
Yeah. It's control the controllables, and obviously there were a lot of uncontrollables in your life. So I assume you grabbed on what you could get, and it's rowing. Yeah,
and actually rowing helped a lot. Like it taught me that I needed a structure, and that I kind of treated treatment almost like training. It was, I did everything I could and followed the rules, and was, read a lot and tried to. Took as much control of the situation as you can in that sort of situation.
Yeah. And then, how long was the pathway post treatment, and then back to international competition?
So I was diagnosed at the end of January in 2006, and then I got back into summer squad at the start of 2007, and just trained in an 8 with a squad, and then made the 8 the following year to try and qualify for Beijing, but we missed out on that one. Yeah,
that's absolutely amazing though, that you that you're there thinking about back to that. That's amazing. And obviously I've seen you in full glory in the 2010, 11 and 12 years. So those results speak for itself. And that is absolutely fantastic. How do you think your diagnosis affected your rowing career, or you as a person?
In quite a few different ways, probably. It made it so that I hadn't probably trained consistently over a long period of time. Like having years off here and there, we know is probably not ideal. It probably physically changed me quite a bit. So I went through surgical menopause sort of overnight, which obviously changed my hormones and changed my sort of physical makeup, and cognitively affected me for quite a while as well. Just sort of concentrate, or just what happens when you go through menopause, just all the changes you would expect. And I guess it changed me a bit as a person, in that I probably realised that it gave me a bit of perspective, realised that it wasn't the be-all and end-all. We were very lucky to be here. We're very lucky to do this anyway. And so, I guess it gave me a bit of perspective that I probably didn't even realise I had at the time, but it probably did shape who I was and how I thought. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's which is come to an amazing person you are. That's so. Who do you think? So back to probably from that. What would you? I've seen you talking in presentations, and I always love it when you answer when the question gets asked to you, like what would you ask to the 16-year-old? What would you? What advice would you give the 16-year-old Fiona? Oh, I would say try and make yourself more informed. Like, I've missed some serious memos. I would say make sure that you take control of your health and take ownership of it. Like, learn about it, learn about things that could potentially happen to you, learn about ways that you could prevent these things happening. Listen to your body. I was very good at ignoring signs and just keeping going. That was I could do that well, and I just kept on going.
Is there anything specifically that you? I know you're a school teacher as well, so that's hence the questions coming up now, that you would recommend to a 16-year-old female, specifically. Like I already said Fiona, but a female Fiona. Knowing the culture we are living in. Yeah,
just knowing your cycle, knowing what's normal, what's not, that it's not normal to bleed all the time, that if you either get your period more than you should or you lose it, to seek some medical advice. Talk to somebody you trust and go and see somebody. There's nothing to be embarrassed of. There's absolutely, it's not, this is not an issue to be like embarrassed or shy about. All of the doctors that you would see this all the time, and as you go through life, you get very desensitized to this. This is just part and parcel of life, and it's something you need to be aware of and look after and manage yourself. But there's lots of people out there to help you.
Absolutely, and there's people willing to help as long as you ask. That's so one of those. So knowing your body and obviously doing the regular checkup, I think is this crucial information. Can you give any guidance how often young women should have a cervical smear?
So when I was when I should have gone, it was 20, but it's actually 25 now. So anyone between the ages of 25 and 69, and anyone who's been sexually active as well, needs to go and get a smear. Even if you've had, the HPV vaccine, if you've been lucky enough to have that, you still need to get screened, because there are the odd cancer, like the one I had, that is actually it's not HPV, doesn't cause it. So there is a small chance that you, could, still get some.
Yeah.
And it only protects against certain strains of HPV as well, which causes cervical cancer.
Yeah, and if you're unsure if you should go for a smear or not go for a smear, I mean, once again, it's that ask, isn't it? Ask a parent, ask a teacher, ask a healthcare professional. I think they can guide you towards the right direction, and know your body. They are really, really good messages, isn't it?
Having a good relationship with your GP is really crucial. Feeling comfortable and safe. There's lots of different places you can get a smear. It doesn't have to be at your GP. It could be at a family planning clinic. Just talk to the nurse at your GP's. It could be. There's lots of different places. There's actually a really good website called Time to Screen. So if you just Google it, Time to Screen NZ, it's got pretty much, all the frequently asked questions about the cervical screening process, and if you were to get, how often you need to go, and if there was an issue, how really good website to go and have a look at.
Oh, that's fantastic recommendations. Do you have anything else you would like to get across to the listener? That's recommendations or places they could go to seek advice.
I used to be an ambassador for the New Zealand Gynae Cancer Foundation, so they're also a really good place to have a look. There's other cancers apart from cervical cancer as well that you probably want to be aware of, so definitely go on there and have a little look. Google is your friend. Just go and Google. Once you're in the system, you will get called back. So you're supposed to go every 3 years unless there's some kind of anomaly with you get a normal smear back, then you'll get put on like a different rotation. But if everything's fine, it's every 3 years.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Like, to Google where you can seek advice is fantastic. Please do not use Google to diagnose.
Not to Google, but Google where you can go to a doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. think we've seen too much of that, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. Don't self-diagnose. I think
no.
might have done that. And
yeah, that is absolutely fantastic, Fiona. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And you are an amazing person. You have an amazing story to tell. So thank you so much for informing the listeners about your story. Tell them what you have experienced, and hopefully more people will actually start, or women will start listening to their body. And when something isn't right, just seek help. That's
the message. Yeah, do what I say, not what I did.
No, but let's take your learning and prevent things from happening in the future. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.